them. I mean, anybody in here ever hear anybody say anything like that? Yeah. Well, if you're stuck and you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing, I have the answer. I have the answer. I can tell you in a few seconds. Here's the answer. Do what you love. Okay, don't hit me. Because I know, I can read your mind. I know exactly what you're saying. You're saying, nice talk, yeah, do what you love. Number one, you know, how is I going to pay the rent exactly? And number two, it isn't like I don't have anything else to do. I'm a little busy. Number three, I'm too old. Number four, what about those credentials? I can't exactly go back to school and get a PhD. Anybody thinking anything like that? Yeah, I've heard it all before, and I'll tell you something really, really funny. Well, all that seems to make such sense. It makes such sense that I have never said, can you think of any reason you shouldn't do what you love, and not heard the answer, how am I going to pay the rent? I can't just quit my job and do these things. Where am I going to get the credential? Everybody, it makes sense, doesn't it? It sounds like you're just being realistic. And what you don't realize is there's nothing realistic about that. It sounds good on paper, but it isn't true. And the slightest examination is going to make those cave in like nothing in the world. I call them myths and assumptions. And they are dream smashers like absolutely nothing in the world. They destroy dreams before they even get a chance to lay down a memory track. You see somebody tap dancing, you think, I used to like tap dancing, oh, I'm too old. It doesn't even get a chance to get in there where you might dream it. You know, no chance, right? How many of you would say, how many of you in this room are doing exactly what you love in your lives? That's the usual four, okay. How many of you know what you would like to be doing, but it seems impossible? That's the usual 23, absolutely. How many of you want too many things and you just can't choose? That's the usual 35. And how many of you just don't have a clue? That's the usual 120. Okay. Now, let me talk about that. First of all, those of you who are doing what you love, I'm thrilled you came to see me. You must think I have a good personality because you got what you want, but that's okay. There's always more. I mean, those of you who do have what you want, do you ever get this thought, gee, I'd kind of love to, I don't know what, something's missing, but you know what? My life is so good right now. I'm not going to, I'm not going to complain. I should count my blessings. Anybody think that way? It's good. It's, I'm happy, and I shouldn't want anything else, okay? Okay. I don't ever want to hear that you count your blessings again. Don't anybody ever count your blessings. What on earth is that all about? Do you think when you're happy and having fun, you stop and go, oh, wait, let me count this blessing? You don't. When you're happy, you don't count anything. You don't make a list of what's wrong is something's missing. And the myth you're taken by, the one that's kind of wrecking your thinking, is, well, I wouldn't want to give all this up. And anyway, I don't know what's missing. Who said you had to give anything up? If something's missing, it's missing. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with what you've got. It's missing. Go get it. Who said you had to swap? That's like a children's fairy tale. You can either have your left leg or you'll lose your right eye. Which one did you do? None of the above? Does none of the above count? So if you're someone who feels your life is good and it could, something's missing, that means something's missing. Hang on to what you've got and we'll go looking for what's missing. Because that means, see, everybody is so multi-talented. You got so much talent in you, and you are such an original that there's a chance that there's something else you should be doing, and it's knocking on the door, and you don't know what it is. But I don't believe in giving up anything to do anything. Like those of you who think, well, I can't just quit my job and do so-and-so. Anybody think that way? That makes sense until you think for 1 second about it. Think about it. Do you go shopping for new outfits in a new season, stark naked? Because you burned all your clothes before you left the house? I mean, do you burn all your clothes and say, none of these, okay, and so I'm glad it's summer, I'd catch my death, right? You wear your old clothes to get your new clothes. You get your new clothes, you come home, if you like them, you get rid of your old clothes. That's what you do with everything. So no, you don't quit your job to do what you love. You keep your job and you do what you love a little. And then if you like it, you do it more. And then if it earns money, you dump your job. That's how it's done, you know? It's like, you see ice, you see ice, you put your foot there. It looks hard, you put one foot on it only. You keep the other one on the land. Unless you just like getting wet in the winter. Okay? All right, now think about that. Okay, now, there were a number of you who said, I want too many things. I got to get rid of you right fast. Okay, because you're not, there are a lot of people like that. I can't choose. I want so many things I can't choose. Have you ever heard that or thought that? Yeah. Who said you were supposed to choose? You have to do everything you love. To say, oh, which of the things I want to do should I do, is like saying, which of my children shall I feed this week? You know, you got one lamb chop and 10 children, they're all going to get a really small piece of lamb chop, but they're all going to get it. You have to do everything. Well, how can you do everything? Well, I had a woman in a workshop recently. She said, I want to do too many things. I said, oh, give me a list. She said, well, I want to dance and swim and write poetry and do public speaking. I said, great, what's the problem? She said, well, I'd like to know which one, you know, would make money. I said, public speaking, period. She said, oh, that'll make more money than dancing, swimming, and singing? I said, that's the only one that will make any money. But it will make good money, and it doesn't use up a lot of time, and you can do all the rest on your own time. Somebody else said, well, you know, I want to learn Chinese, and I want to travel the world, and I want to, you know, take a trip around the country on a bicycle, and I always wanted to learn how to take pictures. What's the problem? Well, you can't do all those things. Why not? Well, I mean, you have to pick a career. Those aren't careers. Those are things people do, right? Those are things people do. You want to take a bike trip? Take one. I know a lot of people take bike trips. They have jobs, right? You want to travel? Travel. How many of you think, oh, I'd like to travel, but I have no money? Yeah, how can you travel without money, for heaven's sake? Well, kind of easily, actually. I know a woman who runs up her credit cards. She pays her kids' tuition and her taxes and her rent on her credit card. She pays it off every month, and she racks up a huge number of frequent flyer miles, and she goes everywhere. She traveled to Bali and back about a month ago on 50,000 miles. That was about a third of what she had. I know people who teach English all over the world without a degree, without ESL. It's not very hard to travel, really, it really isn't. But people, I mean, it seemed obvious, didn't it? Got to quit your job, can't quit your job, got to have money. I got to tell you a story, and you'll see here's why I'm here today, because everybody thinks they don't know what they want. I mean, the people who want too much, okay? Now you think about this, because the people who say, I know what I want, but it's impossible, and the people who say, I haven't got a clue what I want, are the same people. The truth is, everybody knows what they want. At least one thing, usually 7. Everybody. And if you think you don't know what you want, that's because it seems impossible. So I got to tell you this story, because this is when I realized I was going to have to do another show. I was in San Francisco airport recently, and a little restaurant there, and a woman came up to me, the waitress, and she said, oh, you're Barbara Sher. This was a big mistake. If you say hello to me in public, I say hello just like a normal person. But if you say, oh, I know who you are, then I'm all over you like a cheap suit. She said, I said, oh, you know who I am? She said, yeah, I've read your books. I guess I should do what's in them, right? I said, nobody else does. And then I said what I always say when somebody's dumb enough to say hello to me that way. I said, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And she said, I have no idea. I said, yeah, everybody says that, but you do. You sure you have no idea? She said, absolutely. I said, okay, it's the money thing. So I said, well, look, if you had like so much money, you couldn't spend it if you tried. And you were living off the interest, okay? And your only problem was, how do you entertain yourself with so much free time and all that money? What would you do? Because I thought I had her, right? She said, I don't know. I said, come on, what, do you like athletics? Do you like being creative? Do you like performing? Do you like books? She said, I love books. Now, you think I would be very happy and proud of myself. I was miserable. I thought, good God, she had no idea what she wanted. What if I hadn't said the right word? What if I'd said dogs instead of books? And then she walked away, and then she kept waiting on tables. Soon she became a drinker. She died alone. in a single room occupancy. Her gifts went to her death with her. I would fry in hell for that. I know it. I know. So I sat there thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to get people to think of like the key word without me like in their face? You know, I'm busy. You know, I figure I've only gotten to a couple 100,000 people. You know, I'm getting on, you know? So I was very worried about it, and I said to her, what kind of books do you like? She said, it isn't the kind of books. I love to turn people on to books. And her face lit up. Well, see, that look, that's scientific data. I knew I was looking at DNA. Because when somebody, you aren't going to hear, you know, you aren't going to hear your dad say this, or your Uncle George, or the head of a CEO, you know, head of a big company. But this is the truth, and everybody's finally, I've been saying it 25 years, everybody's finally coming around, okay? The truth is that what you love shows what you're made up of. It shows your DNA. Horses really get a big kick out of running. You know, they do it when they don't have to. Birds fly when they don't have to. They just like to fool around, you know? I mean, horses can swim and birds can walk, but they don't do it for fun, right? Well, when you love something, that's the instructions you came with. You know, that's the instructions. And we don't know what your DNA is. We don't know how to map that. But if your eyes light up, we found it. That's your ID. You know, you cannot love something you're not gifted at. It is impossible. I'll have some stories that will prove it to you. When she lit up like that, I thought, you know, I'm not a frivolous person. You know, I'm not somebody who goes, just, you know, feel good and be peaceful in the universe. Anyway, so I said to her, why didn't you tell me? She said, what? I said, why didn't you tell me you love books? And this woman walked, I mean, you love to turn people onto books. And a friend of hers walked up who might have worked there too. She actually had a book under her arm, and she said, she's incredible. I wouldn't have read this book. She turned me on to it. You know, in the beginning, I wouldn't have read it, and she got me through, and I'm crazy about it. And I said, how come you didn't tell me that? And she said, well, I can't just quit my job and do that. You can't make money at that. And I said, what makes you think you can't make money at it? She said, well, she said, you know, you ought to get out more, Barbara. There's something wrong with you. I said, with a talent like that, you could walk into bookstores. Any big bookstore would let you have a special day where you featured a book and you turned people onto a book and they would buy the book. You'd be making money for the bookstore. They might like that. She went, oh, that's true. I said, do you know that a lot of authors don't like to get up in front of a camera, like me? They're usually fiction writers, and they're people who kind of like to be by themselves, or they're not performers. Do you know what would happen if you traveled with an author or for an author, and you went on and said, you gotta read this book? She said, you know, I never heard of that profession. I said, it doesn't exist. What you have to do is write your own job description and then create a profession around it. It should exist. I said, are you aware of the fact that you could be a public speaker in front of parents and teachers? You know how many kids don't read anymore? She said, well, yeah, I do, my grandkids. I said, do you have any friends who are school teachers? She said, 2. I said, how would they feel about you going to visit their class and turning the kids onto some book? She went, they'd love it. I said, and what if there were only 3 kids? The rest of them weren't listening, they were throwing spitballs. But there were 3 kids in that class who looked at you with those eyes like practically ready to cry because you had hit the level of their brains. What do you think of that? 3 people in that class, you think that would make a difference? She went, oh my God, yes, that would be enough. I said, do you realize what you can do with that skill? And she went, oh my God. And I said, do you realize that if you promote books, that you can have what's called an affiliate program? She went, really? I said, it's called making money while you sleep. How does it sound? She went, I better quit my job. I said, don't you dare quit your I said, don't you dare quit your job. I said, you know, what you've got to do is start small and start right away. Because if that look in your eyes is real, there's a gift in there, and you're going to catch fire, and you're going to think of things I never would have thought of. Now, are you beginning to see the kind of myths that kill dreams? This woman thought, number 1, I can't quit my job. Number 2, I don't have the credentials. Number 3, there is no such job. Look in the want ads and find the job I just described. There is no such job, right? Those are 3 myths that destroy dreams left and right. And all of you are so unusual that it isn't easy to figure out what you should be doing. We've been trained to look in the want ads and see if we can fit into that stuff. You don't fit there. But you got to earn a living. I didn't say you don't have to earn a living. Earn a living. How? I don't know. How do you earn one now? Anyway, the key thing is, don't work 90 hours a week, because that won't let you do anything else. And don't work at a toxic job where you have to come home every night and like get drunk just to get over it. You know, where the people torture you or the work is evil. You can't have that job. It's better to just go work in a pizza parlor somewhere as long as they have benefits. You know, it's like, you know, don't do that. But I guess the thing I want you to know is that if you're feeling stuck, you are so close. If you were like in a war-torn country or you didn't have a chance or there was no opportunity, if you're in the Soviet Union back in the 50s, right? I'd say, you know what, this is going to be too big a job, there's nothing I can do. There's no opportunity here. But the truth of the matter is that you are one myth and two pieces of information away from doing everything you want in the world, everything. And making money at it if you want to. You might not want to. It's nice not to make money at what you love. It really is, because then you can do it your way. You've got to stop assuming that you know what doesn't work. I had a workshop recently, and at the end of the workshops, I always say, does anybody have, an impossible dream? And one woman raised her hand, she had tears in her eyes, and she said, I want to work with animals, specifically apes. I love that. And I can't go back to school, and I can't get a PhD. And this was, just tears in her eyes. And I said, because this is what I do, I said, does anybody have any ideas? This woman leapt to her feet. She said, wait a minute. She said, I work for zoos all over this country, and I want to tell you something about primates, monkeys, and apes. They're so intelligent that our biggest problem is they're bored to death. We need people to go down there and play with them and talk to them and keep them entertained, or they get depressed. She said, what? She said, yes. She said, how do I do that? She said, you're in this town, call this place, call them and tell them you want to volunteer. I said, you mean she can just go to work and play with like apes right away? She said, well, she's new at it. She might have to start with spider monkeys. We all said, I could work with that. So basically, the key thing that I want you to do and that I'm going to teach you to do today is to search and destroy mission on all those myths and all those assumptions you make, those dangerous assumptions that make you automatically kill a dream, like I say before, it can even lay down a memory track. But you don't have to worry. Your dreams can't go away. The things you want to do don't go away any more than your eye color, because they aren't just little wishes. That's your biology. If you love something, that's what you were designed to do. And if you take a look at the mathematics of your gene structure and your personal history and the way you processed it because of your gene structure, you understand that you are completely original. You are unique. You are one of a kind. That's why nobody can tell you what will make you happy. Nobody has any idea. But maybe you don't either. Maybe you're sitting there saying, okay, she's got me. It is smart to do what you love. I think I will.
Should you put those two instead of this one?
I don't know what that is. Anybody in here do that? That's what our next segment will be. In the next segment, I have come up with a trick. It is so simple and so clever that you will never have trouble with this again. Never. That's a promise. So when I come back, I'm going to teach it to you, okay?
Barbara's just getting warmed up. You can't do what you love until you know what that is. In the next segment, she'll show you how to find out. But first, stay tuned for some ways you can put Barbara and your public television station to work for you throughout the year.
Okay, we've taught you lesson number 1. Today, I'm going to show you everything you need to know to figure out what you love and to figure out how to get it. Absolutely surefire. No character improvement here. I don't do self-improvement. You do not have to change yourself to change your life. You can stay sleepy, sloppy, obnoxious, hard to get along with. You can dislike yourself. You can think everything's terrible. It doesn't make the slightest bit of difference. If you want to improve yourself, enjoy, go ahead, but it's got nothing to do with what we're talking about today. And if you don't believe me, do you remember those people who you were in school with before an exam? They went, oh my God, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail. And you went, think positively. You'll do well. And you went in and got a B and they got an A, remember? Whatever you do to get you through the night, irrelevant, okay? Stage a tantrum, do what you want, not important. But the key thing that I wanted you to know is that in that first segment, is that you've got to start respecting what you love. It's not frivolous, there's nothing lightweight about it. You have to respect it, it's utterly serious. It tells you things you need to know. So if somebody goes, yeah, well, that's what you love, my dear, this is the real world. They're illiterate. They just haven't read my books yet. Anyway, I wanted to find out what is some precise way that I can help people figure out what they want. If I can talk them into doing what they love, I still have to figure out how they should know what they love. And I came up with it on this telecast. This woman had a business and she was like worried because she wasn't afraid her business was, and we were all trying to help her come up with good ideas for how she could make money at her business. She was a little short, her money was short. And we came up with a lot of good ideas. You should do this kind of marketing and this kind of advertising and this kind of this and this kind of that. And she was saying yes, but there's just something in her voice. I wasn't thrilled. And she said, that's great. Yeah, that would work. That's great. Okay, thanks. And I said, so you're going to do this, 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 and this? She said, yeah. And I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, if 10 is utter bliss and 1 is like a nosebleed, what number is this solution we gave you? She said, oh, it's a 5 or 6. I said, not good enough, back to the drawing board. I said, what's the matter? She said, no, it's okay. I said, what's the matter? I said, what's the matter? Something's wrong. She said, I am so overwhelmed, I can't even do what I have to do now. She said, I have invoices on my desk that I haven't sent out. I haven't typed up the invoice for $120,000. Those people will never pay me because I can't send those damn things out. I don't deserve to have a business. And I went, wow, glad I asked. I said, what makes you think you're supposed to do that yourself? She said, what? I said, what makes you think you're supposed to do that all by yourself? You think the CEO of a big company got there because he was like cleaning the John too? You think he was licking the stamps too? She went, what? I said, don't do that. I said, get somebody to help you. She said, help? Like who? Oh, you can't find anybody, you can't find anybody. Well, everybody said, here's how I did it, here's how I did it. We came up with a million ideas. She went out, she hired an ex-cop who got on the phone and got every nickel back. He didn't even visit anybody. He just said hi. And that's how H levels got started. H stands for happiness. A woman came to me and said, my dream is that I want to have a spa. You know, not a spa, but like a wellness center. And I said, what's your obstacle? She said, money. And I said, yeah, everybody says money. What do you want the money for? She said, well, to build a beautiful buildings in a beautiful location. I said, have you ever run a wellness center or anything like that? She said, well, no. I said, okay, well, let's do these H levels on a scale of 1 to 10. How would you like handling the books in the accounting section? She went, 3. I said, oh, okay, well, how would you like talking to the insurance companies about how much insurance to handle and talking to the newspapers about how to pay for the advertising and, you know, where you should do it? And she said, 2. I said, well, maybe you'd like to work on the heating system or putting up the stones or the bricks and hauling that stuff on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are we at? She went, 1. I said, what do you really love about it? She said, well, I always wanted to have a wellness center because I've had such incredible experiences with these incredibly gifted people. You go to their class, they're like in yoga or in something, and when they're through, like you're full of peace and joy. I said, that's the part you love. You don't need a spa for that. Why don't you become an agent? Why don't you go out and become a talent scout? Go out and find these people and bring them to other spas. All you really want to do is sit in everybody's class, you know it. She said, yeah. I said, and, you know, and be an agent, get 15%. They need the help. You can get them in the spas and they'll get paid. She went, that's a good idea. I said, yes, that's a good idea. And we did it because those H levels were too low. They were simply too low, okay? Now, what if we find something for you and you think, and this has happened to a lot of people, you get very excited and you think, oh my God, like the woman who was going to turn people on to books, you know? So excited. Oh my God, this is so great, right? What's your H level? 10, right? Great, fabulous. When are you going to start? Well, you know, I really have to get all the weeds out of the backyard first. What's your H level now? 7. What's your anxiety level? 12. What happens is, the second you find something that's exciting, the first thing that happens is you get incredibly high. Excitement is wonderful, but here's the truth of the story. Excitement is half joy and half fear. You have resistance inside you. It says, just don't ever do anything new. You might break your neck, not reproduce. We don't like it. Don't do anything new. Or you aren't allowed to have what you want. Who do you think you are? You're not the favorite child. What are you doing making yourself happy? This is a bad thing. You are breaking a rule. You know, somebody's going to hate you. And this isn't even conscious. You just think, right, the anxiety level goes up, the happiness level goes down. Well, here's the good news. The good news is you wouldn't be anxious if you weren't going to do it. Most people, when they get anxious, they crash. Everybody crashes. You're supposed to crash. They don't know that. And they give up. They go, well, I'm just not enthusiastic about it anymore. Maybe I better do this other thing I don't like as much, and then I won't get as nervous, right? They don't say it. But what happens is you are supposed to get high. That's like marking the perimeters, is how far you can go. Then you are supposed to crash, because you'll break your neck if you really go out there right away. You're not ready. And then you will feel like all is lost, you are stupid, life is over. You'll have like a temporary depression, which is like to heal you up from all that excitement and fear. And then you'll come up to the middle place, where you think, it is a good idea, let's see what happens. And that's where all the work gets done anyway. So when you get happy and you find what you want with your H levels, and your anxiety level goes up, your A levels rush up, you're obviously in the right place. But yes, you will crash. Be very kind to yourself. Eat lots of ice cream, drink lots of beer, whine a lot. Explain why you can't do anything. And then when you start feeling a little better, get to work, okay? Get to work. You've got to know about that sort of thing. That's pretty important. The truth is that happiness is very, very important. And to define happiness, right? What's the definition of happiness? There's only one person in the world that knows that. That's you. Your definition isn't like anybody else's. And you have to know what that is. And you can kind of feel that if you use H levels. You can say, well, to me, happiness is this or that, or I don't know, one thing or another. Bliss is something people talk about. I have a problem with that word. Bliss, to me, bliss is somebody who's like, on drugs. Excitement, being totally absorbed. I did get a letter recently from one person. She was on my bulletin board, and she wanted to sing, and she hadn't started, but we all encouraged her, and so she got herself ready, and she got a place, and she went out to sing. She was having all these things. She was having a stroke in advance. She was going to give up. She came back, and she wrote the most wonderful thing on the bulletin board. She said, thank all of you. This is all of yours. Thank you. It was great. It was like, she said, it went like silk. It was like nothing in the world. I was great grooving. She said, it isn't that I did. She said, beforehand, I was thinking, my hair, my clothes, this won't work, that won't work. And I got there, and I realized, she said, I made mistakes and everything, but it didn't matter. I realized it wasn't about my clothes. It wasn't about my hair. It wasn't even about me. It was about the music. She said, it was about being worthy of the music. And I thought, oh, you're home. You're home. Now, mind you, she crashed after that. The second one was harder, but she's coming back again because now she's addicted. And like I want you to be, because that's an H level you have a right to be in. If you were doing what you were born to do and designed to do, even if you only did it once in a while, that would be worth it, wouldn't it? You have to pay attention to your H levels, no matter what you want. If you want to sing or dance, create, travel. You know why you have to travel if you want to travel? Because I always ask people who want to travel, I say, where do you want to go? They go, everywhere. So I say, okay, there is no such country. Where do you want to go first? They say, everywhere. I say, okay. Okay, then I say, what do you love about it? And the people who say that, the real travelers, they all say the same thing. And I look at their eyes when they say it. They say, I love different cultures and different people. I just love seeing them. I just love being around them. Well, that's a gift for travel. I say when you do your gifts, you help all of us. If you don't do your gifts, you're selfish and rotten and no damn good. And if you take them off the planet with you, you've cheated us. That's what I say, and I'll say it. I'll give you a hard time. But to what earthly use can a person who loves to travel and just watch people, what good is that? Well, think about it. Maybe she'll write a book, maybe she won't, but think about it. Wouldn't you like somebody from your country to be out there in the world looking at people with love in her eyes and respect and interest? Wouldn't that make people kind of think maybe we were a better place than maybe they sometimes think now? I want gifted travelers to travel. I mean, I'll take up a fund. If you love to travel, you're doing us a lot of good. You come on my bulletin board if you can't figure out how to do it, and we'll show you, right? Get out there. If there's anything you love to do, you have to do it. And sometimes there are things that aren't an activity. I call them categories of happiness. Like some people want variety in their lives, and some people just want to make a difference. It's important that they make a difference. They can't tell you what they want to do, but they make it. This is just as important. You've got to do your H levels on that one. Some people say I have to have beauty around me, right? That doesn't sound like a goal, does it? Well, it is. I knew a guy named Clark. He's on my bullet. He's in my newsletter, actually. I found out about him. He has a place called Reading Retreats in rural Italy. I went there. It's a villa. It costs next to nothing. A lot of books. It's out of you drink wine in the afternoon. It's great. I said, how'd you get this? He said, I was a poor student, broke, and all I wanted was, like, he said, I lived in a very tough setup, and I just loved beauty. He said, and to me, Italy was beautiful, so I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't have any money, so I took an Italian class. And incidentally, that is incredibly smart. If there's something you love, go hang out with other people who love it. Don't tell your Uncle George, right? And then, if he says something, don't listen. Oh, I told Uncle George, he said Italian's stupid, so I guess I won't do it. It's like, you know, would you ask a dog whether you should invest in Cisco? Anyway, he hung out with these people in the Italian class, and they're all Italian lovers, not just Italian language lovers, and he was reading the Italian newspaper want ads, and he found an ad for, they wanted an American to live with a kid, speak English to the kids, some wealthy family, and he went over to Bologna, and he lived there for about a year. In the meantime, he found this gorgeous villa, and it was given to him free because he wanted to put together music concerts, and he got world-class musicians, and he put this whole thing together. He didn't even pay for it, and he got all the local antique owners to put their furniture in there and put the name of their antique store on it, and when you came there, you slept in these, like, incredible, you know, 17th century metal beds and this with angels over you. And, oh. Anyway, he still doesn't have a dime. He still got the villa after 9 years. So the quality of life, all he started with was beauty. So what I want you to learn how to do with this H levels is I want you to learn how to do idea soup. I want you to learn how to make an idea soup. And I think I'm going to show you that in the next segment. An idea soup is, now that you know, number one, that you must do what you love. That it is important. It is science, right? It's not silliness. I'm not a new age lady. I'm an old age lady, right? Now that you know you've got to do what you love, now that you know that love is the key, it's the only indicator of what you're made of. Now that you have a technique, I want you walking around the world saying, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I like that color? Actually, that's a 7. I like that color. Anything that's a 7, write it down. And after a while, it will flash on your mind. Oh my God, I love this. And that's all we need. Well, what are you going to do about it? I mean, now you know what you love, or you can find out how. What are you going to do about it? Big deal, right? There are certain things you need that you can't give yourself. You can sit in a room and figure out what you love, but you cannot sit in a room and find out how to get it. That's information you don't have. You have to get that information from someone else. I'll show you how to do that in the next segment, but just remember this one. Isolation is the dream killer, not your attitude. You can have any attitude in the world. And finding out what you love is your business. But finding out how to get it is our business. We have to help you. We got the information. Every person you know has information that you need, and I'm going to show you how to get it, okay? Okay? Gotcha?
Stick around, this party's getting into a nice groove. Next, Barbara's going to show you how to make your dreams come true. Helping you and your family realize your dreams is what this public television station is all about. Give us a call now and let us know how much you value our service.
Wow, you guys. We're in segment 3. I'm working on you today. You know my goal. My goal is that everybody in this room takes what they love very seriously, that you don't let the myths stop you. I tried to blow holes in money, age, credentials, etc. And I've also shown you how to find what you love if you don't know. You have to start developing a sensitivity to the things you love by using H levels on anything. And after a while, it has a very, very profound effect on you. I mean, when you start saying vanilla, oh no, that's a 4, here's a chocolate 9. You know, I know it looks stupid, but what it does is it gives you a sense of that you have the right to do what you want. It's very odd. It doesn't try to do that, but that's what happens after you say, you do it with certain things anyway. You say, I don't like the color of that blouse. I'd rather it was a little more green. And you do it. You get it precise with certain things. Everybody does. You often get it precise with, like, I don't know if I feel like Italian dinner tonight. I think I like Chinese. We take our stands on those things. But we tend to just keep our mouths shut about the really important stuff, and we don't remember it. So those H levels will start making you aware, sensitive, even to silly things, but that's all right. It's like, what do I think? You now have the right. Now that you know that love is about DNA, not about being spoiled, right? And silly, okay? Now that you know that. So we've got that. We've got everything for you. And now I want to tell you how to do what I call idea soup. It's my favorite thing. There are a bunch of ingredients because my goal is to teach you to do everything that I so cleverly do automatically, because that's my talent. And the reason I want you all to know it is so that you'll go after what you love, and I'll get a vacation. You know? Okay, so idea soup is fun. There are 5 ingredients to idea soup. Idea soup will do everything, and most of them you can do yourself. And the one you can't is what we're going to talk about in this segment. Idea soup has as ingredient number 1, you figure out what you love. You say, I love something. I had a young woman, she said, I want to be in the movies. I said, okay. What do you love about that most? She said, well, I don't know, I just love movies. I said, do you love being on camera? She said, well, I don't know. I said, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you feel a camera in your face having to do something 8 times like you meant it? She said, oh, I don't think I'd like that. I said, well, how would you like pushing a camera around, or how would you like editing film? She said, I don't like any of that. I said, right, so what do you love most about it? She said, I just love movies. I love movies. I just love them. I'm nutty about them. And I said, do you want to take a class? She said, no, that's my avoid. I do not want to just be another student. I want to do more, and I just don't know quite what it is. I said, would you like to write criticisms of movies? Would you like to run a film festival? And she said, oh yeah, I can't do that. I said, I didn't ask you if you thought you could do it. That's my problem. What I want to ask you is, do you love that idea? She said, yes, I'd love to get the films I like the best and show them together in a new way and then talk about them afterwards, where I'm the one who helps people, but I don't have the credentials. And I said, sure you do. You love them. You see things nobody else sees. She said, yeah, but who would come and what school? I said, no school. No school will let you do that. No. You do it in your living room. And you just send out emails to all your friends and bring them over and say, we're having 3 films, and see if you can guess why I used all 3. And then afterwards, you talk to them about what you saw. Because I have a son who's like that. He'll show you something like 7 Samurai, and he'll go, remember that scene where the guy says this and they smell? That's the best moment in the film. I go, I love that movie. I don't remember that. And he goes back and he gives you things you wouldn't have had. It's like he puts like a gift in your hand. And I said, are you like that? She said, people say that I do that too. I said, that's your gift. So why don't you do that? And then I said, why don't you write reviews? She said, oh, no newspaper would take it. I said, right, no newspaper would take it. But if you put up a web log, which is like a diary on the internet and usually free, and you write about the movie and you say what you think it is, people will come. Do you know there are a lot of people doing that? And do you know that people go and check them out and they've developed a reputation because they each have a special kind of taste? And she said, wow, that's idea soup. She got every part of that by herself except what I call the form, where she's going to be a critic and she can do it on the internet and where she's going to have film festivals in her living room. She wouldn't have thought of that. I happen to know somebody who did it, so I did think of it, okay? So idea soup is great, and it will really help you figure out what you love most about it so you don't make any mistakes, what you want to avoid. Because understand, nobody knows you. It's got to fit you. You don't have to fit it. It's got to fit you. And then what resources you have going for you that apply. And then, how do you get that idea at the end? Where do those good ideas come from? Or what if you have an assumption like she did? And you say, well, no school will hire me to, run a film class. No newspaper will take my film critic stuff. She was right, but I knew about the other ways it was done and she didn't. How are you going to get that? You can only get that from other people. So in this segment, what I'm going to teach you about is what I call idea parties. They come in many shapes. They're great. At the end of every workshop, I do one. And I started noticing what was happening when I first did this. I'll tell you some stories. You're going to like these stories. I think I'll tell you the story that's going to sell you 100%. What I do at the end of a workshop is I say, does anybody have an impossible dream? And when they stand up and tell their impossible dream, I don't answer it. I usually say, does anybody have any ideas? Because I want to show them who's available, who's in the audience. The first time I did this, I was in Greenville, North Carolina, and I was doing a workshop for a hospital, actually. They invited the community in. It was some kind of Woman's Day thing, so it was mostly women in the audience. And I said, who's got an impossible dream? And this woman stood up. I said, what's your dream? She said, I want to dance with Patrick Swayze. So I heard some quiet voice say, yeah, you and every other woman, whoever they are. And I was about to say, okay, what's the obstacle? Because I always say break it into a wish and an obstacle. I was about to say something when a woman 2 seats away started waving her hand, stood up waving her hand. I said, what? She said, Patrick Swayze's mother has a resort 30 miles from here. I work there on the weekends. I have danced with Patrick Swayze. He's coming on Wednesday. You can come with me. It happens every single time I do a workshop. It never fails. I never know what's going to happen. I go for the most impossible dream. I ask the room what's going to happen. I had one woman, very odd-looking little woman in New York. She raised her hand. She said, I need a chimp. I said, chimpanzee. She said, yeah. I said, what's the obstacle? She said, they got too expensive. She said, see, I used to sell gifts in corporations, and I would show up at noon, and I would walk down the hallways with my gift baskets, and I would have this chimp with me, so everybody would run out, and they'd buy my gifts. Well, that chimps used to cost $100, and in a given day, I make $200 or $300. She said, well, now they're $600. I can't do it anymore. I'm out of business. I said, oh, does anybody, and someone raised her hand in the back and said, I think we can get you one for cheaper than that. What? She said, I said, we're talking about chimpanzees. She said, I know, I rent them. It happens over and over and over again. So I started thinking, this is so cool. This is the solution. This is where we're going to find everything. People don't have to sit in some town somewhere with this gift and not know anybody who knows anything about it. I can figure out a way, even, first if they come to my workshops, I've got them. Okay, they understand. But there've got to be other ways. And I started inventing all the ways you can have an idea party. First is invite 10 people to your house. Here's how you do that. You find 3 friends who aren't negative. Who go? Not the kind who go, I don't know, you can't really do that. Well, there's so much already. What about those other stuff you tried to do? You never finished. Invite 3 kind of perky friends and say, I'm going to have an idea party. Invite 2 or 3 people you know who like aren't enraged, depressed, or hateful in any way. And bring food. It's potluck. This is utterly essential. Utterly essential. I'll tell you why. I don't want any of this like competitive cooking. You clean your house, you have your strawberry torts that took you a week to make. No, none of that. Not just because I'm sort of against that in principle, but because there's a very good reason for it. Here's what you do. You say a potluck. It doesn't matter what people bring. Everybody can bring the same thing. But you invite these people, hopefully 10 or 12 people, and the first person who comes to the door, you answer the door and you go, oh, listen, I'm on a long distance call from South America. Would you let the other people in? And you disappear for a half hour. Totally. And you let them answer the door. They meet each other. They have to go in your kitchen to put the food out. They start looking at your pots and pans, and they're already, not only is that an icebreaker, but they're in problem-solving mode by the time you come out. You come out and you apologize, and you say, oh, everybody, I'm so sorry. Okay, let's have our idea party. Now, if you invite somebody to an idea party, they always say yes. No one knows what an idea party is. They don't care. They want to come. You would. If I said, will you come to an idea party, you'd go, yeah, what the hell? Okay. And then you sit down and you say the magic sentence. This sentence is a magical sentence. And you say, I always wanted to sail around the world, but I just don't have the time or the money. If you say that, here's my wish and here's my obstacle, and you just be quiet, somebody will have to come up with an answer or they'll die. They can't stand it. You give them a wish and an obstacle. We are problem-solving animals. We can't stand that. And they will come up with an answer. So if you had said, I'd like to sail around the world, don't have any money, somebody would say, if you were in an idea party, what are your resources? What do you got going? And if you say, nothing much, I'm a sort of a chef, and I also am a photographer. Well, I'm not a very good photographer. I know some pop tunes, right? And somebody will say, which happened, somebody will say, I know somebody who walked up, who was a chef, and went down to sailboats on the dock and hung around until she saw somebody who was going somewhere she wanted to go and said, do you need a chef on your crew? And she would get on and she would sail all around the world, get off and say goodbye, and then she would hang out there for a while. So, there are ways. Everybody you know knows things you can use. But then we get to the internet. If you're still one of those people who thinks the internet is a kind of a cold place, oh, my friends, it's the warmest. It has warmed up the planet. If you're someone who likes gecko lizards and everybody else thinks you are just a creep, and you go on the internet, you will find everybody on the planet who loves gecko lizards, and they will be your friends. I'm interested a little bit in the Silk Road. It's an ancient trade route from China right through to Istanbul. I signed up, said, do you want to be on our mailing list? I thought I would get some newsletters in the mail, so I signed up. And I found out this was not a mailing list. This was what's called a listserv. What happened was somebody would ask, there were about 2,000 or 3,000 people on this list. And someone would ask a question, like, I would like to come over the Kunjarab Pass in October, but I don't know if it's open, right? That's a pass on the road. And it would come into my mailbox. And then about a few hours later, I would see an answer, which would also, you can't get through the Kunjarab Pass in October, why don't you try the Torah route? And I think, geez, this is a good place to get a question. So answered, so I wrote, I always wanted to kind of go to Mongolia, and like Ulaanbaatar. But I don't like to be a tourist. I'd like to know somebody. And within a day or two, I got 3 personal invitations. And these people did not know my books. They did not know my name. They just said, why don't you come here? I'll be gone for the month of May. You can have my place. Or, and someone else said, you can stay with me. I'd love to show somebody. It's really great, blah, blah, blah. This is a listserv. But your people are out there. There are people who love what you love. There are people who want to answer your question. There's something else called news groups. There are like so many of them, it's a little confusing how to use them, but you just ask anybody and they'll tell you how to get on. And what they are is just discussion groups on every subject in the world. If you write down Yorkies, or you write down feet, any damn thing you write down. There, in the middle of the night when you think you're alone, the whole wild world is fast asleep, there's somebody in Japan or Australia or Kyrgyzstan or South America or Rio who wants to talk to you. No, not a bunch of weirdos like they're trying to protect you from. People who like what you like. So if you feel misunderstood and like the things you love the best, you know, everybody doesn't know what they are and everybody doesn't like them, that makes you a normal human being, a normal, original human being. The people you love and associate with aren't necessarily built like you. You gotta find your people. And that's an idea party. Now, I have a 90-year-old mother. I got her computer last year. My 90-year-old mother is on that computer. She gets emails and she does something called instant messaging. I can't explain it. All I know is it's in real time and you type something and then people answer you. Well, 3 weeks ago, my mother was on instant messaging having a chat with one of my sons who was in Bali, with another son who lives in Athens, and his wife's about to have a baby, so they were talking about that, and with me in New York City and my mom in LA. And we were popping it back and forth. And I said, Mom, I'm gonna talk about you on the show. You know, because people say they can't do this, and you're doing it. I mean, my brother upstairs emails her instant messages or something. Hi, I see you're on. Yeah, what are you having for dinner? I mean, it's just constant company, right? She said, okay, you can. Tell him I drive, too. She said, tell him I still smoke. I said, I don't know if I should. She said, just do it. I said, okay. She's about that high, but you just don't want to mess with my mother. There is no way that you can't find your people. And you have to find your people or your dream will die. That's where you get the ideas. Did you know, if you wanted to be a public speaker, I found out that there's a speaker's mart. You know what a merchandise mart is? I never heard of them, but some people know what they are. I found out when I worked for a very big insurance company. She said, yeah, I've got to run to Chicago to the speaker's mart. I said, what's that? She said, speakers get up and talk for 5 minutes, and then you hire them for your big insurance company to come do motivational speaking. I said, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Did you know that you can coach anything? I know a guy who's an actor. He does something else for a living, and he was a good actor, but he just wouldn't get up and perform. He had performance anxiety. He got a coach for performance anxiety. And they talk on the phone, and you can be a coach. You can be a coach if you work at home. And now he's performing. Talked him right through it. Talked him right through it. You can work at home by, if you want to work at home, you can bring kids in and take care of kids, or you can bring dogs in. I know a woman who has an aviary sanctuary in her basement. She was on my web radio show. Yes, you can have a web radio show. You can have one for free. She was on my web radio show. I interviewed her to get her, you know, some funding. And she just collects birds. Her parrots are great. I said, I'm kind of a dog person. She said, parrots talk to you, they're so smart. And I heard her voice. I thought, okay, okay, parrots are in. I hear you, I hear you. She's got an aviary in her basement. She has a rescue place. People who want to do rescue things for animals always get the real estate myth going. I got to have 9,000 acres. Where will I get the money? You know, you don't always need 9,000 acres. So here's what you do when people give you an idea and it isn't a good one, because this can happen. Or you think it isn't a good one. Let me explain. If you're in an idea party and you say I have a wish and an obstacle, somebody's going to give you an idea, and whether it's good or not, you're going to become obnoxious. It's just the way we are. You're going to get neurotic. I can't do that. I did that last year. It didn't work. I mean, even a politest, kindest, most gentle person just turns into this mean because you get scared and you think they're going to make you do it, right? Well, nobody can make you do anything, and you've got to learn how to listen. So what you have to do is every time you get an idea, you have to do this very special thing. You have to find something you love about it, or like about it, even if it's a terrible idea. And then you have to deal with the bad part second. How do we fix it? I'll explain. When I first started my little business many years ago, I said to a group of people, I need to get some advertising, and I don't have the money for advertising, and I've got this thing here, but nobody knows where I am, and I don't know how to get customers. And I said, give me your craziest ideas. And one of them that they came up with was, why don't you rent an airplane? I said, I don't have any money. I said, why don't you rent an airplane with a big long tail that says Barbara Sher's Success Teams, right? Call the TV stations and tell them to be there at 5 o'clock, and then jump out of the plane naked with your hair on fire. And I said, I like the idea of doing something newsworthy and getting the TV stations there. What do we do about the problem of my death? And so we came up with a way to get the TV stations to come to something that I would do without me having to, kill myself. Okay, now, nothing beats knowing what you're doing. There is no attitude that beats it. A positive attitude, feeling worthy, feeling wonderful, loving yourself, that's all very nice. But it doesn't give you the telephone number, the location, or how people do it. It doesn't tell you that. You can't get that from meditating. You can't get that from being one with yourself. You can only get that from other human beings. That's the only place. And an idea party, which comes in so many forms, like I say, in person, on the telephone, on the internet, comes in so many shapes and forms, at my workshops. That's what I call a poor man's research staff. They can find anything for you, right? So supposing you get this great list of all these exciting ideas of things that you're gonna do, and you go, wow, and your H levels go up, you're happy, and then your A level shoots up, and you start to pass out. And you think, well, maybe, maybe I'll, geez, I just realized I have to be in Dubuque. What's going to keep you going? We've got all the steps here now. I've got you respecting what you love. I've got you knowing that these myths are myths and you have to look at them more carefully, right? And I've got you figuring out what you love, and I've got you figuring out what you really love. And I've even got you figuring out where to get the information you need to turn that into something you can actually do. I can show you how to take the stuff you love, invent a job description, and turn it into a profession, just with what you've learned so far. Who's going to let you do it? Who's going to stop you? No one can stop you. You do what you want. Do it small. Don't take any risks. Don't mortgage your house. Don't quit your job. There's nothing. Nobody can stop you. And now with the internet, you can reach everybody. But what's going to keep you going? What's going to make you say, day after, you know how they say about anything that you have to do, it's overwhelming, but you treat every big project like an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It sounds good on paper, but that's not our nature. We think an elephant, that's so big, I have to get out of here, right? So what are we going to do about it? Well, that's what I'm going to tell you in the next segment, because in the next segment, I have a technique that's a whopper, and that one's going to bring it home. After that, there will be no place you can escape. You will know what you love, and you will do it. And you're going to send me a letter like I get all the time from people who say, oh my God, I'm doing what I love. I didn't believe it could happen, blah, 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 okay? So you want to hear about that thing?
Yes.
Okay, I'll see you back here in just a little while.
Stay tuned. Barbara's going to show you how to keep the momentum in your dream machine. How can this public television station bring you this and all the other programs your family uses and enjoys throughout the year? One pledge at a time from individual viewers like you. Call now.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Okay, this is the home stretch. Now I'm going to sock it home, okay? Okay? They always say that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That's exhausting. And everybody knows you can start out with the best intentions, but what keeps you going? What keeps you going? Especially when you get scared. Right? And you're going to get scared. You're a normal human being. You get excited, you're going to get scared. It's something you got that I call, well, there's a number of ways to do it. It's an accountability setup. It's structure and support. Somebody said to me, I'd like to be a writer, but I sabotage myself. I said, how do you sabotage yourself? Because I'll tell you something, very few people sabotage themselves. It's everybody's favorite slogan, but it doesn't happen often. She said, well, I should write, but I don't. I think about my stories, I don't sit down and write. I said, nobody does. Neither do I. The only time I write is when they gave me an advance and I've already spent it. You want to write? take a class. You'll turn in an assignment every week. You want to go looking for a job, but you just can't get out of the house because it's so depressing because there are no jobs? Get a coach. They'll meet with you on the phone every week. Nothing beats having to show up. Years ago, I invented something called the Success Team, and I am just so proud of it. It's basically a group of about 5 or 6 people, and they get together usually once a week, and their only goal is to make sure that everybody in that group gets whatever they want. That's all. Whatever they want, not what they ought to want. Whatever they want. Right? If they want to marry for money, you say, okay, where's the people who have the money and how can you marry them? That's their only problem. That's how they do it. When you get into a success team, what happens is you all love each other and then everybody makes a promise. Okay, here's what I really would love to do. Here's the part I really like. Next week, okay, why don't you do this and that? They give you ideas, like a little idea party. And then you say, okay, you make a promise. You say, next week, I'm going to bring in a chapter, or next week, I'm going to have talked to this person, or I'm going to have done this thing. And you walk out and you think, I'm not going to do that. And you get scared, but they know where you live because you were foolish and you let them. You come back the next week, like say you said to somebody, I think I'd love to be in radio broadcast, like a TV. I'd like my own TV talk show. And they go, oh, I've got a cousin who works at the station on this big talk show, and here's his name, call him. And you walk out thinking, I'd rather blow my brains out than call him. He's going to say, who are you? It's going to be terrible. So you don't call, and you come into the next meeting, and everybody in the team, they want you to make it. Don't ask me why. It never fails. And they go, what happened? And they look all excited, and you say, you know, the pig caught the measles, and we had this flood and stuff, and this light goes out of their eyes. They don't even know it. And they feel like, oh, we can't make her do it. And you say, look, I really am sorry, and they cover for you. I mean, it's pathetic. They go, oh, no, it's not your fault with the pig and measles. Who can blame you? And next week, you call that cousin. You call that cousin even if you think you're going to get humiliated. You call that cousin, you go to that station, you check it over, you come back in because you cannot stand the way they look. And you'll walk in the next time and they'll go, hi, and you'll go, well, I went to the station, and they'll light up again like kids at Christmas. Every week, you will take a step you wouldn't have taken otherwise. Every week. Why? Shame. Guilt. You'll do it. You'll do it for them. Codependency. I don't give a damn, because they will get you someplace you could never get by yourself, because that's the way humans are. That's the way you're supposed to do it. And that's an accountability team. You can do it with a buddy. You can do it by yourself. So just a couple of final things I want to say. You get that team, right? Number 1, you take your wildest dream very seriously. Number 2, just because you don't know how to do something doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Do it anyway. You're not supposed to know how. Okay? Number 3, I want you to understand that you have to do what you love, that you have to find out what you love with H levels, that you have to find out the part you're really crazy about, that you have to get together with a group of people to help you figure out how to do it. That is incredibly important. And that's everything. You do that, and then you get in a team, and they know where you live, and they won't let you get away. They'll drive you nuts. That's everything, from beginning to end, soup to nuts. You do what I told you today, and there is no way you won't find what you love, and there's no way you won't do it. And you're supposed to do it. There's an author named Ursula Le Guin, and she had the greatest quote. I can't remember it exactly, but she said, don't ask what is the meaning of life. Life is not an answer. It's a question, and you're the answer. What you do with those gifts inside of you will determine whether life was a good experiment or not. So that's what I had to tell you today. That's why I wanted you to come. You got my message. You will find what you love. You are an original. It isn't easy to find it. You can use these tools. They'll work. You can't do it alone. You got to do it. And you need an accountability group or team or buddy system of some kind, or a class at the end. Okay? That's the whole thing. You can unlock the doors. And I want to tell you that I've been looking at your faces, and I know who you are. I mean, I know who you can be. More than you do. because I've been doing this a long time. I know who I'm looking at. You get out there, and if you want to sing, you sing, and if you want to dance, you dance, and you find a way to do it and get all the help you need. Don't let me hear you didn't do that, because I'll track you down. Thank you.